Hello everybody and welcome back to our development log for Horizons of Achaea. Happy New Year, and I'm really excited to start off 2024. We have a ton of things planned, most of which is getting a playable demo up and on the internet here before the end of 2024. Specifically, we're hoping to get it on Steam, but also a version that we can send off to potential publishers in order to see who we can partner with in order to best help us bring this game to life. So it turns out, making a game is not cheap by any means, duh. And it seems especially true for 3D RPGs for one reason or another. Even if you're doing a lot of the work yourself, you could be spending your time doing a whole lot of other things that might make you money. I've read and watched a lot of developers' logs and the years and years that they pour into making a project, a passion project of theirs come to life. So I can only imagine without community support and or a publisher that this would be a really stressful uphill battle that one would have to go through. Side note, if anybody has any book recommendations of game developers or their biographies, I would love to read them. I'm actually pretty fascinated with some of the journeys that these folks end up going through. I've just recently watched the documentary over Sea of Stars. I'll leave the link below for that. That was a really good one to listen to how they addressed each challenge but just kept pressing forward. And also the Stardew Valley guy, the years that it took him and the stress that he went through just to produce his game. Even the creators of Sea of Stars had to raise over $1 million and get 25,000 plus backers on their Kickstarter before a publisher was even willing to give them the time of day to make their game come to life. It seems between the general funding of the entire spectrum of the video game creation process and writing a unique story is where a lot of developers, or at least aspiring developers, seem to find the hurdle or find the straw that breaks the camel's back to where they don't see their game to fruition. And that's completely understandable. But what's a new indie studio to do in light of all of these monumental challenges? Number one, I've just told myself to breathe through all of this. If I really want to get to a point to where we're making this Skies of Arcadia inspired spiritual successor of an RPG, then I've just got to take it one step at a time. And the process might take years, but it's going to be worth it at the end of it to see a game come together. Something that I know, I love, and that I've worked on with my friends in order to make a reality. The second thing that we're keeping in focus is that we just got to get that first level out. Something to get our idea communicated into the world to tell everybody what we're trying to make and what our game is all about. So you probably clicked on this because you want to see what some of our actual updates are. We finally have our first official logo, and here it is. It actually feels like the whole game development journey is a bit more real now with this small but important milestone completed. There's nothing quite like putting a face to a name. And as we were looking through some of our design concepts, this one really stuck out the most to us. It feels like we've got to the edge of our hometown where the proverbial come back and visit us soon sign is. If you're considering supporting our game, we have a Patreon set up and we show a lot of the art and the development and some of our story ideas there first, or we're going to show some of our story ideas there first. In order to help us get this game a little more padded with funding. It was interesting considering what goes into a logo as we were going through this. We thought we had just put something together and we'd see what sticks, but a lot of questions really came out during the process. Our first thing was, does it look like anything else out into the world? And while being unique and coming up with something just absolutely brand new is really hard, there's a lot of folks, and even if you're one in a million, there's 8,000 other ideas or people like you. So really trying to capture what was unique and didn't look too much like anything else was at the forefront of our design process. Second was, does the logo convey the message? Now, I think this one is going to maybe be telling over time. As we get going with the game, we'll probably keep coming back to the logo and make sure that it fits what our game is about and what message that we're trying to convey with it. That sense of adventure, that sense of discovery, a lot of that is going to be key core elements to Horizons of Achaea going forward. Another thing I thought up of that wasn't with some of our other folks is the font copyrighted. We did reach out to an artist and had them come up with just a bit of a modification to kind of our core idea in order to make sure that we were staying, legal with everything, and nobody would come back to us and say, hey, that looks too much like ours. A lot of reading I found out was out there about the different font copyrights and what you can and can't use commercially. The next thing that came up was how much do we need to pay the artist. Thankfully, it didn't cost too terribly much, but that was one of our first major expenses that we had for moving this project forward. Speaking of story, our scenario writer and I have been hard at work creating, revising, revisiting, rinse, repeat, all the different elements of our game script so far. So we've got the first couple of levels really hammered out, and we're making some detail changes and revisions on our next part of the game. I know I've hammered this in forum posts and other things, but we're really trying to make sure that it has its own voice. And it's not just a beat for beat retelling of Skies of Arcadia. We love the atmosphere and the tone of that game. And we think we're going to be respectful of a lot of elements that JRPG brought to the table with ours. I think this will be more apparent once we get the demo and our first trailer out there, but that is at the core of kind of our discussions, is maintaining that feel, but making sure that the game has its own voice and it just doesn't feel like a rehashing of an older game. Alongside the story, our attention is now turned towards the character concept. So some more of the graphic detail that we can get out ahead of our trailer, ahead of our demo. And we've got two protagonists that we're working on specifically. We do have a cast of characters that we're developing out, but these first initial two should be coming soon. In the next update that I post, I'm hoping to introduce you guys to a couple of the characters that are going to be key parts to the Horizons of Achaea game. We got some other areas of the studio that we're building out just in terms of the business. So our marketing strategy and little things like our website will be coming. So as you can guess, it'll be horizonsofachaea.com. So you'll be seeing that website come online here very soon, with some of the updates that I've been talking about in these videos and other forum posts just nice and collected right there on the website. And lastly, I've just been humbled by the gaming community as a whole. Any of the dumb questions that I feel like I post, or little things over on our JRPG, our Skies of Arcadia, some of the other forums that I'm a part of that have little pockets of JRPG community gamers out there, have been really receptive and really encouraging. And despite all the technical and financial hurdles that come with creating a game, having that supportive voice out there is just one of the things that keeps me and the rest of us going. So I really appreciate that, and thank you for tuning into this development log. Stay tuned for more updates. I'm still going to try and do one at least once a month. They might be a little more frequent as we get things ramping up here, and there's just more to tell. But stay tuned, and I hope to see you all in the Horizons.